What it is just a walk down to Riverside Drive and back up, but on the way there's information plaques and seats that you can sit down and contemplate and read about different parts of the Kokoda track. On the Kokoda track they have the top half in English or Australian, and the bottom part is in Pidgin.
Oh, fabulous.
Papua New Guinea talk. So the idea is that they're fantastic, and we've got the same thing here, but we don't need the PNG talk. Of course, these days we only experience the physical up and down and the rain and the mud, but the guys that did it, those poor veterans up there, they did it in much worse circumstances and with wounds and suffering that we couldn't even contemplate. Imita Ridge was between Iribaya and Owens Corner. Not a big battle fought there, but the idea was it was such a mongrel of a climb. They actually thought it was the worst part to walk, up and back. I walked it and I felt faint. I in fact practically had to lie down once you got to the top, and then continue on your way in the rain. But it's a magnificent climb. To actually say you've done it is a great accomplishment. So, I mean, it was on the way out that the blokes most enjoyed the walk, because at Imita Ridge they could drop their packs, they could drop their ammunition, and in some cases they dropped their automatic weapons and passed them on to the new troops coming further up. Brigade Hill, barroom brawl of a fight with the 2nd 16th Battalion. On the 8th of September 1942 we had the 2nd 27th, the South Australian boys, on Mission Ridge in front of them, with the Victorian 2nd 14th in the middle, and with the 2nd 16th at the back, with brigade headquarters further behind. During the night, the Japanese sent what they think was a full company with heavy machine guns and cut the track between the 2nd 16th and the brigade headquarters. What ensued then was Bill Graydon, Jim Moyer and Keith Norrish were all involved in the action to clear the track and force a path so that the 2nd 27th and the 2nd 14th could get their wounded mates out. Unfortunately, the Japs held control of the track, and Bill Graydon led 3 bayonet charges through the Japanese lines that day, and him and about 8 blokes survived. Jim Moyer was shot through the groin in the early part of the day and left a 9-centimetre hole out of his front of the groin. It took him 31 days on a stretcher to get out via a very treacherous and bad route, not on the track because the track was cut by the Japs. It was a marvel that he survived and a testimony to the bloke's character. Still doesn't talk about it in too much detail because it's just too emotional to bear. One of our other veterans, Keith Norrish, you may have heard the famous story he had. He was looking at his grizzled beard 10 minutes before the action with a stainless steel mirror, and the night before he had received about 20 letters from home. It was the first mail they'd received. He had folded them all in half and put them in his breast pocket with the mirror. He copped a burst of machine gun fire in his chest, 4 bullets entering his chest, 4 hitting the mirror and the letters, 1 deflecting into his left arm, into his bicep, and 1 deflecting into the lining of his heart. And to hear his story, you could make a movie about it. But he got back to the aid post, they stuck a plaster over it, and he spent 5 days walking out to Kokoda and survived. And the moral of his story was that the bloke who patched him up said, "Take small steps." That's all they could give him, and a couple of crushed aspirin. And even to this day, when he met the aid bloke many years later, he said, "I'm still taking small steps." Brigade Hill is a very West Australian hill. It's a very Australian hill. You shed tears on the top because there's a small memorial like this. Most trekkers will sing the Australian national anthem. The Papua New Guinea trackers will sing their national anthem in your honour, and I tell you what, you blubber, because you have to. If you've got red blood, you blubber. But a fantastic thing, because you actually stand on the grave sites of about 96 West Australians and Victorians. It's a fantastic spot. If you could spend half a day there, it's magic. The weapon pits are still accessible. You can walk around and see the indentations in the soil, even find stuff lying around. And that's, 70 years today. I did it, and George did it when it was 66 years old, and we still found stuff. Bully beef tins, cartridges, the whole thing. But very moving. It was the highlight of our trip, and I think even in the books everyone writes every Australian will shed tears on that hill. And it's not a big hill. It's only about 100 metres wide by 200 metres long. And when you think 95 Australians died there, trying to clear the track so that their mates could get through, you couldn't think of anything more Australian. Anyway, enough said. I could talk for hours.
Please do.
Oh. Templeton's Crossing, lots of fighting taken there because it was a hard river to cross. You had to do it on logs. The logs move, you move with it. Probably one of the best aid stations there. It's where they could catch their breath, get a cup of coffee from the salvos and push on, up and back. It was raining when I got there. It was raining while I was eating. It was raining when I was sleeping. My tent was on an angle like that, so during the night I would either nosedive into the corner and had to crawl back up, or my feet would be sticking through the material and I had to crawl back up to get on a level pegging. In the morning it was raining, and when we walked out it was raining. And it was what they call fat rain, which means the drops look like 6 inches long. And you can hear your mate talk 10 feet away, can't see him. So we didn't really bother with showers on the track because, one, for a couple of days it was just a continual shower anyway, so yeah. On the way down you've got tracks, it sort of doubles up, like Alola Village is halfway there. Now Alola Village is a beautiful village. It overlooks a large flowing Aurora Creek. It's absolutely breathtaking. And then on the way back up here, we have the plaque for Aberrari, which is more to do with the action at the 2nd 16th Fort. Jim Moyer was involved in that, and he can tell you some funny stories about that, especially when he was behind a tree with his shoulders sticking out both sides, and a Japanese sniper had fired 6 bullets into the tree. Either the Japanese sniper was learning, or he was a very bad shot, or he just wanted to have some fun. But Jim was a big bloke in those days, and he was what he used to call a ruck rover in the footy. And he was getting pushed out of the tree by a mate who was burrowing in around his knees. And they were having a bit of an argument about whose tree it was, who was there first. So Jim decided to suggest he take another tree over there. So the bloke said, "Thanks, Jim," and ran off. And to this day, the said gentleman still thanks Jim for saving his life. I think Jim was more interested in saving his own. But it is good fun when old veterans come up with good stories like that, because it means they'll be passed on. Yes, it was really quite funny. Talking to the veterans, their first delivery of mail was at Brigade Hill. And most of them read the letters straight away, wrote replies on the back of the same paper because it was the only paper they possessed, and sent it back that evening because they knew by the next morning they would be up to their necks in action and they weren't sure if they would survive. This plaque's to do with the Ishiarava village. Ishiarava has got a magnificent monument there. I'm sure everyone's seen the 4 granite plinths with courage, endurance, mateship and sacrifice on it. It's another very moving spot because they're digging up stuff left, right and centre there, even today. But Ishiarava's a very nice spot. I think all the villages are very nice. But in 42 they would have had a different meaning and a different outcome for young lives. the track is almost like a living snake, and every couple of years it will move a bit, either way, depending on the villages with their markets, their veggie patches moving, and also around Minari and Nauru, there's a gold mine these days, which moved the track 500 metres to the left because the gold's more precious.
Yeah, more important.
Yeah, so little things like that happen to pop up and confuse things. At Brigade Hill, George and I found Bren gun in a weapons pit. Now, the veterans told us that no one would have left that gun behind. It's too valuable, so someone died using it.